Hello, my name is Dan Skipown, and this is the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. And on this episode, this is part one of a three-part. We're going to do an entire trilogy. And who better to do this trilogy than the man who nominated the trilogy, Mr. Jake Maringoni. How you doing this evening, Jake?
I'm doing very well. It's not this evening for me. For me, it's the morning. Yeah, but I'm happy to talk about these movies. It's been a while since I've seen them, but I'm a little rusty. But I will happily talk about these movies because I'm a big fan of these movies and the director.
Yeah, the Three Colors trilogy. We're going to be talking about the first film, Blue, and like Jake said, the director. His name is Krzysztof Kiewslowski. He's a Polish director. He has had not the biggest career, but when he was at the peak of his career was when he was making the Three Colors trilogy, and he also made a TV series called The Decalogue and The Two Lives of Veronique. He was at the peak. I mean, there was nobody better at that time than Krzysztof Kiewslowski. Uh, and and this is the thing that really gets a lot of people talking about him in his career. Isn't that the case, Jake?
Yeah, that's basically how I discovered him. I don't know how it was. I think I was in high school and I was just looking on my laptop and I was just looking at just unknown famous trilogies, just big trilogies that are really popular. And then I discovered this trilogy and it was just called Blue, White, and Red. And I just thought that was insane and interesting. So I looked at it, I looked a little more info into the director, and I just discovered that he had made a bunch of films, and some of my favorite films had been influenced by his films. Like Blind Chance was the partial influence for Run Lola Run, which is one of my top five favorite films of all time. And the trilogy just seemed so interesting to me because as I watched it back when I did, all these characters and these stories are so interconnected that it's kind of insane that they'd all take place in the same universe. And we'll get to Red when there's so much evidence supporting that. But it also just is centered with these themes and ideals that each one has. Like Blue is about liberty. Uh, White is about, oh God, what is it? What's White about? White is equality.
Yes.
White is equality. Then Red is it fraternity? I'm
That I
trying to
don't
remember what's.
that I don't know what. But we're talking about Blue on this episode, and so this one stars Juliette Binoche as Julie, and she is the main character of the film. But some of the main players are the cinematographer. I got Slowomir Idziak. Now he was on one of the decalogues. That's the one thing you'll see about Krzysztof Kieslowski's uh, Red, White, and Blue, or Blue, White, and Red films, is he pulls actors and people that worked with him on the Decalogue onto these movies, and in some cases the cinematography is a character in these movies. The blue cinematography, the white cinematography, and the red. So the
Mm.
cinematographer is very key to each one of these
Yeah.
films.
And it should
Also,
be mentioned, sorry, not to cut you off. It should be mentioned that each three films is done by a different cinematographer, and yet they feel like they feel the same in the sense that there's no tonal shifts or no camera movements or lighting feels completely different. They all feel like they take place in the same universe, and I guess that's just a credit to Kieślowski.
oh yes, well yeah, because he's the director, he has to make sure everything looks the same. It has the same aesthetic, even though you have three different cinematographers. But another key person who kind of got helped put this thing together was the producer Marin Karnitz. Is the producer on all three of these films, and this is not an easy project to do, considering you have three films with three different stars and three different storylines. Then you have to have it all fit into one universe, but it all has crossing over layers and different things that cross over from one to the next. And the producer has to play a big part in getting all this stuff everybody on the same page as well, you know?
I wonder how Kieślowski asked planned this his trilogy out and tried to see a budget for the films, because it's kind of it's almost a like an ambitious project, especially for Paris or French, especially for France, because that's how they came up with the colors and the themes. I think because the company that funded them was based in France, and so they decided to name it off the flag colors, and each color represents liberty, equality, and fraternity. And if it was another company that had funded them, it would have been two entirely different colors just based on the flag.
Yeah, and you know, this is a breakout performance from Juliette Binoche. I didn't know of her before this, and I
Not
didn't know.
saying.
And of course, after this, she's been a big star, and she's won. I believe. God, I wish I put it in my notes, but
She won a supporting actress, not for English Patient.
that's right. I knew she won an Oscar. I just didn't. I couldn't remember what she won an Oscar
Which film? Yeah, she also won Best Actress at Cannes for the Abbas Kiarostami film Certified Copy, which is an insane film that everyone should see. It's unlike anything that anyone has ever seen. She's also been in a lot of Hollywood films. She was in Godzilla. She was in a Ghost in the Shell remake. She's one of those actresses where if you've seen her, you'll know her. See, she's in. I believe she's in Chocolat. She got an Best Actress nod for that. She's one of my favorite actresses of all time. I'm always loved what she's done, especially when she's worked on films with Michael Haneke. I just love seeing her collaborate with him on films like Code Unknown and Cachet.
Yes. Well, didn't wouldn't the last two Clouds of who did Clouds of Silza Maria and the Personal Shopper? And
That was that's the same guy. Oh my god, yeah. Juliette Binoche is in Clouds of Sils Maria.
Yeah, she's in that, and that's another foreign director that's coming into the picture now, and she was in Clouds of Silza Maria. But
Olivia Assayas.
Yeah,
Olivia Assayas.
So she works with a lot of great directors that some of us over here in America may not know. But if you're a film fan, you know who these people are. You see these up and coming directors and see the kind of projects that they're making. And she chooses her projects very well. She doesn't do a lot of garbage movies or garbage projects. But let's get into the story of Blue. And the first scene is kind of a tragic scene because
a great scene, very well shot.
A great scene. We have a car crash, but why we see the car driving down the line? We see the brake line. We see the it's dripping, and we see the brake line, and then the car crashes because it's going to go around the curve, but he can't go around the curve because the brakes fail, and it runs into a tree. And we see a boy running down the street to help them out, but this man and his daughter are in the car, and they end up dying. And the man is a composer, and his name is Patrice. Of course, we come to find out that Patrice is the husband, and that daughter was the daughter of Julie, played by Juliette Binoche.
It's the main protagonist.
The main star of the film. So she's at the hospital, and she's not in a good place at this point when she, because her husband and her daughter died. And so she ends up going to the hospital herself. And she tries to overdose on pills. You see her shove all these pills in her mouth, and then looking through the window is a nurse. And
that was so awkward.
She changes her mind. When she sees that nurse looking in the mirror and through the window, she changes her mind, Jake. And so then she sees the funeral of her husband and her daughter on TV. She's
Yeah,
not
not
even
even
at,
that.
she's not even at her husband and her daughter's funeral. That's pretty rough. That is a pretty rough thing to be watching your husband and your.
On TV for everyone to see. Is there any reason why she's not at the funeral? I always thought it was just a choice.
I think she had a breakdown. She had a nervous breakdown after hearing what happened. But then she kind of starts getting back on track, and she goes to the house, which is in the French countryside, and she wants them to clean out the blue room. This is where we start seeing the symbolism of the color blue in the film. She wants them to clean out the blue room. Because this is her daughter's room, and she doesn't want anybody to go into the blue room anymore. She doesn't want the blue room to have anything to do with the blue room. And a man comes over to visit her. Olivier. No, and he has a blue folder with him, another blue item.
Yeah.
And we have a chandelier in the blue room,
which is blue. Yeah. Well, boy.
This is to remember her daughter, because she's going to completely change the blue room, or we find out eventually what happens. Julie wants to sell the house.
Yeah.
She wants to get rid of everything, and she wants to pay the servants. She can't live in this house anymore, Jake, because all it will remind her of is her husband and her daughter. But she keeps that blue chandelier. That's a key thing in the beginning of this film.
Does she also keep the blue beads? Well,
say that again.
She keeps like a bracelet with beads.
Bracelet with beads. Well, I got no, I don't have that here, but we do have something later on. We're gonna call back to something at the beginning of the film in a few minutes. But so with the money that she makes from the house and the furniture and everything she sells, she puts into an account.
And she also buys an apartment in Paris as well.
Yeah, and she goes and she gets an apartment in Paris because she just can't stay there anymore. And we have, this is kind of interesting because she doesn't want to have anything to do with the husband, but there's rolls of music and notes, and the chorus, there's a chorus, and they're playing this stuff, but then she's like, no, I'm throwing it in the trash. She doesn't.
It's like it's haunting her.
Yeah.
It's like she's the only one to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have when I start noticing all of this kinds of stuff. We have blue light coming through the window on her face, which is another symbolism of the picture of the movie itself, trying to remind you this is Three Colors Blue. And also that she's sad. Blue is kind of like a sad color.
Blue is it can be depending on cultures, it can mean certain things emotion wise, but yeah, definitely sorrow and blue is kind of like and just you. It's like that's why people say, "Are you feeling blue?" That's kind of how you feel when you watch this movie, and it kind of makes sense because the film's tragic situations that happen in the film.
And she ends up calling over Olivier because she's alone. Yeah. She's alone, and she calls over Olivier. And she asks him, "Do you love me?" And he says, "Yes, I love you. I still love you."
Always has.
Say that again.
Always has.
Yeah, always has loved her, but she was married to Patrice. So but he was Patrice's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ends up going through boxes. She finds a blue lollipop. Now, this is another callback to the beginning of the film, because when they're driving down the road, the daughter has got a blue wrapper in her hand out the window. So this is another callback. This is one of the callbacks we're going to see to the beginning of the film. And that's one of them with the blue lollipop wrapper. And she, instead of licking it, she just chomps it and eats it up really quickly. So then she takes off her clothes and she ends up sleeping on the mattress.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have sex. Julie and Olivier have sex. And
they spend the night together, basically.
Yeah. And afterwards, she just basically tells him to leave. Like, hey, we just had sex, but I'm cool here. Get out of here.
I think that was her attempt to have one last stable life, so to speak, just to have a sense of just being with someone for the last time, because after that, things get really weird as she starts to isolate herself from everyone.
Yeah, you're right about that. And we see her walking down the street, and this is something that we go back to, this darkness and this blue and this. She puts her hand along a brick wall and she's scraping her hand along the wall. And of course it's bloody and it's painful to her, but she has to get something to get her mind off of everything that's going on. And so in the new apartment, you're not allowed to have any children in the building. And so, we got some stuff going on in the apartment building. But she doesn't work either. She's just kind of living off of the money that
the royalty, of her husband. So we really don't see what she does other than just live out her life. As that's left kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, and there comes your blue crystal. She does find the blue crystal part of the chandelier, and she makes it into a wrist thing around her wrist.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, she takes part because she rips it, she breaks it off, and it's separate than the rest of the chandelier, and she turns it into a bracelet, like you said. And of course, we see her. This is pretty much her life. She goes to this diner and gets coffee and ice cream, and she swims in a pool, which
I was going to say, that's the same way she swims in the pool.
She does a lot of swimming in the pool as like therapeutic. And of course, once again, the pool is blue.
It's illuminated with lights of blue. And is that the same way she starts to cry at the end of the scene?
Yeah, she's having a rough time. She's having a rough time, Jake. The pool is supposed to be like a therapeutic thing, but it's
not working.
No, it's not working. So then a man is running from a mugger and knocks on Julie's door. She doesn't answer. So she goes outside in the hall, and a woman in blue jacket comes.
This is Lucille, yeah?
Yes. Yes, and the doorbell rings. A woman with the petition to get rid of the other girl. So what it is we have the prostitute that lives downstairs, and she comes home late at night, and her name is Lucille, and she's played by Charlotte Berry, and Florence Parnell plays Sandrine. She plays Sandrine, and she is the neighbor downstairs who wants to get rid of Lucille because
Yeah.
oh, we can't have hookers living in the building or ladies of the night living in the building. And so, but she says, no, I'm not going to sign that petition. Now, what? I'm not going to ruin, kick this woman out of her house. You know what I
I
mean?
believe that Lucille is having an affair with one of the neighbors, and that's why Sandrine is trying to kick her out, because it's just promoting infidelity.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, but and then we have it's sunny out, and there's a doctor. She goes to a doctor, and she's talking to a doctor, but then we eventually get a phone call, and this is another scene where it plays back to the beginning of the film, and it's a man on the phone, and he wants to talk to Julie because he has a necklace that he found when the car crashed. This necklace flew out of the car. When he ran up to the car to help, he found the necklace, but he felt like he shouldn't keep the necklace. So it took him a while, but he got a hold of Julie's phone number, and he ends up meeting up with her and gives her the necklace, the cross, with the cross on it. So, I mean, I think that it's cool of him to do that, but what does she do? She doesn't take the necklace.
Yeah, she doesn't want it. She doesn't want to talk to anyone. It's at that point she starts to become isolated.
Yeah, she said, no, you keep the necklace. You found it. It's yours. Then once again, we got the blue pool again. She goes swimming again, because this is always her throwback to she has to find something therapeutic, and swimming, for whatever reason, is the thing that she does. She likes to go swimming. And then, of course, Lucille comes upstairs with flowers and is very happy that Julie helped her out, that she's still able to stay in her apartment, because you don't want to lose your place where you live, and if it wasn't for Julie, she would have lost her place where she lived. So Lucille is very happy that Julie helped her out. And now we go back to Olivier, where he finds Julie. He finds where she lives, and he finds her by going to the coffee shop. I guess he had relatives and family members looking for her and putting out, hey, let me know if you find her. And one of his relatives, nieces or nephews or somebody, ended up seeing her walking down the street or something like that. That's how Olivier found Julie. So he ends up finding her, and he goes into the coffee shop, and he's talking to her about finishing Patrice's work. And this is what really starts to drive Julie and get her moving forward, instead of being depressed and kind of somber all the time. And there's a man who is playing part of the music. He's sleeping in a box, and he's playing a flute, and he's playing some of the music. And she's like, where did you get that music? And that's part of some of what drives her, maybe she might have to help Olivier finish what wasn't finished by Patrice. You know what I mean? And then she, in her boxes that she packs of all her stuff she moved out, she didn't know it, but she had a mouse in there, and the mouse had babies, and the mice are all like 6-7 mice are just in one of her rooms. And she's like, what the heck am I going to do with these mice in my house? You know, she's like, how do you get rid of? Then she goes to one of the neighbors. She says, hey, do you have a cat? Can I borrow your cat? Because she wants to get rid of the mice.
The mice.
But yeah, the mice were in her pantry. They were, and she wants to get a new apartment because there's mice in her other apartment. But I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Then she visits her mother in the old folks' home, and that's where we get the actress
Emmanuel Riva.
Emmanuel Riva, which is, if you don't know Emmanuel Riva, she's a very famous actress of what French actress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very very famous French actress.
Yeah. Most people know her from the 2012 film Amour, which she got a Best Actress nod for.
Yeah, oh, great film, great film.
Wonderful film.
And so she gets a call. She has a call, and then she takes a cab to a place where Lucille works. She works in a, I guess you call a strip club, a dancers club, and Lucille calls her there because she doesn't know what to do, because she's in shock because she saw her father in the club.
Mm.
And she's like, what am I going to do? My father's in the club. What am I supposed to do? And she just says, just wait. Wait till he leaves. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? You know? And that's what happens. He ends up leaving. You know, it's not that big of a deal, but Lucille makes a big deal out of it because she's embarrassed because she hasn't told her father what she does. You know? And then Olivier announces to the world or the French television that
she's watching TV, and Olivier is saying that he's gonna complete the music.
Yes, he's gonna complete the music of Patrice.
Yeah,
but we saw the flute music from the bum on the street, and this kind of triggered something in Julie's mind as well. So of course, Julie finds Olivier and tells him and explains why he's finishing Patrice's work. She wants to know why he's finishing Patrice's work. And then he talks to her and tells her that her husband had an affair.
He had a mistress.
Yeah, he had a mistress with and then I don't know why she did it, but she tries to confront the mistress, and the mistress is pregnant with his baby, with Patrice's baby. And this is kind of a tough situation for Julie. But what does she go do? She goes to her old fallback. She goes swimming again.
Yeah.
She keeps wanting to go swimming, you know?
It seems to be just her way of trying to maintain peace and try to be kind of happy with her life, and that's just where she has to go to feel good about herself.
Yeah. And then to really come for this film to really come to a conclusion and come full circle, she has to help Olivier finish the concerto by Patrice. So the intern that her husband was having an affair with, she decides, you know what? Children should grow up in a nice house. They should grow up in a nice neighborhood, a nice area. So she decides, I'm going to put you in the house.
Her husband's house.
Her husband's house. Patrice would have wanted it that way. That's the conclusion that she came with. And then Olivier shares the music with Julie, and they're looking through the glass, and you could tell they still love one another. And the concerto is finished. Then they have love making. They have sex. And then we have, a very interesting thing that I really thought the ending of the film was very interesting because we had a montage of all the characters from the movie.
That Julie kind of helps or
or ran
talks
into.
to, ran into, yeah.
I thought that was really a key part of the film. You see the difference she made in these people's lives, even though her life was shattered because her daughter and husband died in a car crash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the movie ends with her crying.
Which is the second time. The first time is in the pool, so it may be. What does that kind of imply? Is she hasn't moved on yet, or is she finally just breaking down about her husband and daughter's death? It's kind of left ambiguous as to what exactly is she crying about.
Yeah, yeah. But I'll tell you what, it was a very emotional film, and Juliette Binoche I thought was phenomenal in this film as Julie. And for the first one of the trilogy, boy, he got me good at the first movie that Krzysztof Kiewslowski did. I mean, I had a lot of emotions going through me watching it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's weird because a lot of people, even Kieślowski, said that this is kind of his anti-trilogy in the sense that this one is an anti-tragedy, which is weird because there's a lot of tragedy moments in the film. I mean, the whole basis of the film is a husband and daughter dying, and it's the widow moving on with her life, but she's maybe moving on a little too fast, but then all of these things from her past come back to haunt her, and at the end, it's kind of her arc is to help those and realize that it's okay to move on, but it's okay to remember what you loved. And I think that's kind of why I really, really like this film. And it's probably my favorite in the trilogy because this is a lot of it's. I think the cinematography really, really got to me in the sense that it's intentional, the colors used, and it's just one of the most gorgeous films I've ever seen. And with it complements itself really with themes and cinematography with white and red, and just what they do. And it's crazy that all of these films take place in the same kind of world, and you'll see each other in different situations. And
there is
it's
one
wonderful.
scene. There is one scene where she goes into a courtroom and the usher tells her you have to leave. This you can't be in here. We don't know what's in that courtroom. But she goes in there and he says, no, you got to leave. This is the wrong courtroom for you. Because she had to go and deal with some some papers and some stuff, some legal documents and stuff. Yeah. But we'll talk about that scene in Three Colors White, which is coming up next. So, Jake, where can you be found?
Well, you can find me at Pretentious Hack on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook. You can see me at Worldwide Movie Games like Movie Battlegrounds. There will be trivia team tournament. I'm still in that, facing Omega Club soon. I'm also on Jack of All Trivia. You may see me there a couple of times. And also, you can also see me on 52 Must-See Movies Before You Die. This is fun. Thank you so much, Dan. And we've got 2 more films left to go. So I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy.